I have 5:15. It's the 11th of August. We're in the Tom Baker Room of the City County Building. We will be having our Board of City Commissioners meeting here briefly, but before we begin, if Chaplain Kalis would mind invocation and leading us in the pledge as well.
Thank you for the opportunity to open this meeting in prayer. Let's stand together as we pray and have the pledge. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, for this beautiful evening. Thank you that we can live in a place where we experience and enjoy the change of seasons and the warm summer weather. Grant safety and strength for farmers and others as harvest continues. Thank you, too, for the privilege of living in this city of Bismarck as well as in this state. Thank you for the many blessings and opportunities that this local community offers for our families and each of us who live here. And I pray today for those who are in the offices that govern this community. I ask that your Spirit guide as they make decisions. Thank you, too, for the freedom citizens have to speak up and be heard. I pray for Mayor Schmitz and those who work in that office. I pray for each commissioner as well as other elected officials and city workers, and ask that each one would be blessed by you as they carry out their responsibilities. I also pray for our first responders, those who put themselves in harm's way to protect the citizens of this community, our police and other law enforcement, firefighters, EMS workers, dispatch, healthcare workers, and others. Please protect them in their line of duty so that they might protect those of us who placed our trust in them. Help them to be resilient as they deal with their own emotions when facing impossibly sad and heart-wrenching conditions. Grant them wisdom and peace. So God, we ask for your guidance in everything said and done this evening. I'm thankful for each and every one of the blessings you give. In Jesus' name, amen. Say the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now call our meeting to order. If we can call roll, please.
Commissioner Risch?
Here.
Commissioner Dahl?
Here.
Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Hull?
Here.
Mayor Schmitz?
Here. At this point in time, it's public comment. Public comment is restricted to the items on the consent agenda, the regular agenda that is not a public hearing, or a prior city commission agenda item. So anyone who would wish to speak, please come up forward to the microphone, make sure you're signed in, identify yourself, and tell us what you're speaking to.
Hello, my name is Sarah Koloff. Just print that quick. Okay. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Sarah Koloff. I am a very concerned mom. Last week, something happened that I'd never encountered before in my lifetime.
Yeah. Can you tell us which topic
Oh,
you're speaking?
kratom.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Last week, something happened that I'd never encountered before in my life. Someone that I voted for in government made a bold and brave move to protect their citizens. I first encountered kratom when it first appeared in gas stations and bottles like 5-hour energy drinks. I worked at a Cenex, and we only had a few early morning customers that would grab one. After a short period of time, they were buying several every morning with their breakfasts. Then it became a whole box not long after that. Then one day, one of them came in and bought every box we had for a grand total of over $900, which he split between 3 credit cards. My manager was a responsible human being and made the right decision that day to never reorder the stuff because it was obviously highly addictive and dangerous. There is a wave of new substances and synthetic substances / compounds overtaking our youth and majorly competing for their attention. Smoke shops are popping up everywhere, and advertising aimed to grab young people's attention is also quietly desensitizing our younger children, making it not so scary when someone offers them some for the first time. Kratom and its synthetic forms, as well as other highly addictive synthetic substances, are very dangerous and can be deadly, and at the very least, they are a distraction for our kids. Our kids have enough to deal with in this crazy world. The least that we can do is protect them from the newest wave of dangers. As North Dakotans, we set ourselves to a higher standard in this country. Hardworking, nice, honest, and traditional values are some of the words that I would use to describe us. I ask that my government officials also be bold and brave at this time and say no to Kratom and 7-OH permanently. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public comment is still open.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Lexi Gunderson, and I'm here speaking on the Kratom agenda as well. Sorry, I'm a little nervous here. Nick Gunderson was my brother and built-in friend. He had a joy for life and was building homes in Big Sky, Montana, up until his passing. Nick graduated in 2011 with a business degree from Montana State Bozeman, where he also snowboarded as much as possible while still getting his degree in 4 years in his heaven on earth, the mountains. His football days at Century High School here in Bismarck unfortunately led to repeated knee injuries, along with chronic pain from snowboarding injuries. This led to his opioid usage and self-medicating due to depression and anxiety. To avoid the side effects from prescription meds, he turned to what he thought was a natural supplement, which was Kratom. Easily found at any gas station or convenience store, he used capsules or made Kratom tea, which was not only available, but totally legal. This all came out when he entered his one and only rehab in 2017 in Billings, Montana. He told my parents and I and extended family during the rehab he would never go back on opioids, but was more afraid of Kratom because the withdrawals were awful each time he tried to get off it on his own. Kratom's availability also alarmed him. Hardly any of us nor authorities we asked back then in 2019 were even aware of Kratom, and we couldn't find much about it back then. Nick's recovery was successful for 2 years from July 2017 until July 2019 when we got the call that he was found dead by a friend in his new apartment. Initial reports indicated an overdose likely, but we waited 2 months for the official coroner's report, and all the time wondering if he had relapsed on opioids. So sorry. Accidental overdose was the final report with a high level of metrogenine, which is the natural botanical kratom. No opioids. He hadn't gone back to opioids. He had turned to kratom instead, thinking it was a natural dietary supplement. Research has now shown that kratom affects the same receptors as opioids, promoting addiction, severe withdrawals, even fatalities. The deep pain of such a senseless loss of life is beyond and has really affected my life over the last 7 years. My family's hope is that other families don't go through another tragedy because of a substance like kratom that is prevalent and legal in most of the United States. I support the governor's ban and hope this ban will remain permanent for all kratom products, including the newer synthetic 7-OH metrogenine, which is even more potent. Thank you, Commissioners and Mayor Schmidt, for listening to my brother and Nick's story. We are here with a deep concern for our children and community safety and well-being for the future. And just to close that, the 7OH was not around 7 years ago, really. So like I said, my brother did die of the natural, but it kills. And so I did give one of your persons a flyer with 7 things to know about kratom. And I also have some sheets and stuff that were given to me from the Burley Public Health, but you probably are made aware of those. I just wanted to share our story because, like I said, I can't bring him back. But the 7OH stuff is, you don't want to mess with. So this metrogeny, you don't want to mess with actually any of it. So I fully support the governor and his ban. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. It's a little shaky.
Public comment period is still open. Anyone wish to speak, please come forward.
How are you guys doing this afternoon
We're
or
good.
this evening? What would it fall under? Sorry. I apologize. I don't have like a formal written speech. I just have some bullet points. So really quick, my name is Allison Smith. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Global Kratom Coalition. I'm actually in town because I plan to speak at tomorrow's public roundtable. And I just checked the city agenda and saw that this was on, so I decided to come by. I do want to start by saying I'm very sorry about your loss. That is a terrible tragedy. So I specialize in actually localities and municipalities, so this is definitely much more my realm, but our state lead unfortunately was available, so I'm in town. Governor Armstrong and the Attorney General are right that there is a problem in the state of North Dakota and across the nation. We do have some disagreements with how they are addressing it. Our personal take is that there are 2 types of products. There is natural, and then there are lab-created synthetic drugs. So just a quick background, traditional kratom products, these are referred to as quote-unquote natural because they are leaf products that reflect the chemical composition of how the leaf looks in nature. So these are they are used by 23 million Americans, and they've been around since the 1970s. They were brought over after the Vietnam War, and then you have the creation about half a decade ago, give or take, of these lab-created high-potency drugs. These are where individuals and manufacturers have taken the leaf, they have stripped the alkaloids, they have stripped the antioxidants, they've stripped the fiber. It's a plant, it's 50% fiber. They have combined it with pool shock and other harsh chemicals, pressed it into a tab, and labeled it as kratom. And they are selling it with minimal to no regulation. And it's caused, obviously, significant public concern. If I can give a metaphor, if you eat an apple, the seeds have this chemical called amygdalin, and when you consume it in your body, it breaks down to cyanide. But you can't eat, if you eat an apple and you accidentally consume 1 or 2 seeds, it's not going to harm you. However, if you consume hundreds of those seeds, you will find a lethal dose of cyanide in your body. We are seeing, that's the best comparison I can give to what's happening here in kratom. They are taking these products, chemically isolating 1 or 2 chemicals, and then labeling it apple. They are very different from one another. These deceptive practices are intended to create confusion and sow chaos. In fact, the state's own attorney general, during his press conference, I believe last week, he came out, he had 3 products on display, and he said, this is kratom, this is horrible, it's going to ruin your life. But those were the synthetic products. They were not the natural leaf plants. And I'm not going to sit here and say that any product is without risk. There are always risks. You can harm yourself by consuming too much water. But that's why we regulate. We regulate tobacco. We regulate alcohol. We regulate, I was going to say cigarettes, but driver's license. I mean, everything has some sort of regulation on it to help protect the public. And this context is very important as we consider this conversation, because I'm not just telling you this as GKC. I'm telling you this because there's science to back it up. The University of Florida has a kratom program dedicated towards research. Johns Hopkins has conducted studies on this. The FDA, NIDA, they've all done research on this, and they have firmly come out and said there's 2 different types, there's benefits and consequences, and what those look like. Additionally, this stance is reflected in policy. I'll try to wrap it up quick, I promise. I shouldn't say earlier this year, last month, July 6th, the DEA published a notice of intent, which is, it goes into the Federal Register and it essentially says, if you are a manufacturer of concentrated 7-OH products, of these synthetic subderivatives, you are put on notice. In 30 days' time, give or take, this will be a controlled one substance. And we're coming right around to that deadline. It's August. DC moves a little slow this time of year, but I anticipate that will become finalized soon. And so that's why I'm here. This is important context. This is a very niche, it's a very complex issue. And that is why I'm here, because I want to be a resource. I would love to answer any questions. I understand we're in the public comment portion, but I'll be around for this conversation later this evening. And I would be more than happy to field any questions. If I can't answer it, I will find someone who will answer any questions or concerns. So thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner? You're going to ask a question.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Allison, so the federal rules that are coming out establishing it as a Class 1 substance, will that apply to the synthetic and the natural kratom?
No, sir. The Federal Register, which if there's a clerk or someone, I would be more than happy to send the link to the actual notice so you can review it. It says explicitly that it will classify 7-hydroxymitragynine above a specified threshold. And then there are 4 or 5 other synthetic derivatives that they will also schedule, because they don't want this to be a game of whack-a-mole. They want to address it, and they want to address it immediately because, as I said, there's 23 million people who consume this. There's obviously some individuals that benefit from it. Adverse events do happen. They are rare, and that's why we need to regulate. But the focus of the federal government and a lot of the states that have passed Kratom Consumer Protection Acts have been concentrated synthetics and those derivatives.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, public comment is open. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Seeing no one else coming forward, hearing no one else, public comment period is now closed. Consent agenda is next, but before we get to that, I asked to pull E2, the encroachment and waiver agreement with Church of Ascension. I have a conflict of interest, so I can't vote on that. Is there anything else from anyone?
For me, it'd be a G5 with the airport contract with KLJ.
Okay. And conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest.
Okay. So my request to the commission first would be with regard to the rest of the consent agenda. What are your wishes?
I move to approve as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
You only have to state the 2 that are being pulled.
We should.
Sorry.
yeah.
I'll amend my motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with items E2 and you said G5?
Yes, I believe it's G5.
G5 is the railroad state.
Yo, sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry, it
That
was
one?
KLJ. It was
Okay,
KLJ. I remember that
so
part.
with items E2 and G5 removed.
Okay.
I'll re-second that.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. And Commissioner Risch, if you would mind taking at least E2 through. I don't think we need to step away because I don't expect any discussions, but
I'll move we,
call for,
You're the chair, acting chair now.
you're the acting chair, so.
I'll move to
Okay.
approve item
now I got it.
E2, the encroachment agreement for Church of Ascension as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes. Now we'll go on to item G5. Any action? Anyone want to make a motion on G5?
Motion to approve G5.
Second.
Oh, I guess you should have taken over. I just want to comment on it now that we've got it out in the open. I wasn't going to.
Sure.
G5 is a passenger rail sighting study. KLJ Engineering, along with a partner, is going to determine where these passenger rail stations are at. And I'm concerned that some people say, well, Bismarck doesn't have enough room at the depot or someplace in Bismarck, when I think we do have plenty of room. I used to operate passenger trains. These passenger trains are maybe 1,000 feet in length. At some of the quick stops that I would make at Rugby or Stanley or whatever like that, not even 5 to 6 minutes, we would stop these trains and off we go again. So we wouldn't, even if we did block a crossing, say at 3rd Street or 5th Street, it'd be very minimal. It'd probably block the crossing for less time than a coal train going through town. So I just want to encourage, I know we have a representative from KLJ here, that they, really do some good work on this, because I'd like to get a station in Bismarck if we ever get to that point.
Okay, we'll call roll on that.
Commissioner Rish?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Moving to the regular agenda. Sorry for the confusion over all of that, but we're just trying to make sure we don't do something we shouldn't do. Regular agenda item A is a public hearing on application for a Class C2 hotel motel alcohol license by Jazzy Bismarck 29 Corporation doing business as La Quinta Inn. It's a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak, please come forward. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Seeing no one and hearing no one, the public comment period is now closed. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Approve as written, or presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Rish?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Next, item B is public hearing on ordinance 6674 to amend sections 20501, 20502, and 60904, the City of Bismarck Code of Ordinances related to term of office, duties, powers, fee assessments for funding of crime victim and witness program. Is there anything you need to present, Julie?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Okay. So this is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak, please come forward. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. Seeing no one, hearing no one, commissioners, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's
Commissioner
a
Rish.
change in ordinance. Maybe Julie can just give us a brief I read through it, it looks fine to me, but why are we doing it? Somebody's watching on TV, we're changing an ordinance, maybe just kind of a high-level overview of why this is necessary.
Julie?
Well, Commissioner Rish, Mayor, Commissioners, this one, let's see, 6744, it's been a while because we had some publication issues. We have a victim witness requirement, a fee requirement that the court has to impose, and the Century Code requires that we put those funds into a fund for a victim witness program. Our office does not have one. The local municipalities usually don't. So the state's attorney's office does have a qualifying victim witness program, so we're going to deposit those funds with them. And if we have a case where somebody needs victim witness services, they've agreed that we can use their services in exchange for the funds.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Rish?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Item C, public hearing on ordinance 6678 to amend sections 50101, 50106, 50107, 50113, 50305, the City of Bismarck Code of Ordinances related to alcoholic beverages and civic center exception, and the repeal of 50120 related to the enclosed booth and booths and access to liquor, to licensed premises, and 505-1001 related to Sunday opening of grocery stores. Again, this is some cleanup of the text primarily, correct?
That's correct.
So this is a public hearing. I'm going to open it. We are going to not be able to finish it because we have some notice requirements that weren't quite met, if I understand correctly. So we'll open the hearing and then we'll continue it next meeting, hopefully. Okay, so if there's anyone who wishes to speak, please come forward. I'll call a second time. I'll call a third time. I see no one, but I'm not going to close the public hearing because we'll just reopen next meeting and then we can take action. I would like a motion for that to.
I would motion to approve the continuance of the public hearing till August 25th at 5:15 at this location.
Second.
And is there any discussion on that? Here none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Item D, public hearing on the release of access, water main, sewer, sanitary sewer, stormwater, drainage, and utility easement on Lot 1, south 5 feet, and all of Lot 2, Block 1, Treetop Addition, first replat. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Hanson MN LLC is requesting release of an access water main, sanitary sewer, stormwater, drainage, and utility easement on Lot 1, the south 5 feet, and all of Lot 2, Block 1, Treetop Addition, first replat, as you can see on the screen in front of you. There we go. The project area is located in North Bismarck, south of 57th Avenue, west of Highway 83, on the north side of Canada Avenue. The easement was granted with the plat of Treetop Addition First Replat, which was recorded in 2021. By city policy, release of any easements other than a franchise utility easement currently requires a public hearing with the City Commission. Owners of adjacent properties were notified as part of this request. Staff have not received any comments regarding it. As a result of all findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the requested easement release, as described in the attached resolution, would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare and is consistent with the comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the release of the access, water main, sanitary sewer, stormwater, drainage, and utility easement on Lot 1, the south 5 feet, and all of Lot 2, Block 1, Treetop Addition, first replat. Do you have any questions?
Doesn't appear any. Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Landon Neimler with Swenson-Hagen Engineering, representing the applicants on this one. Nothing significant to add to what Lauren had presented to you, but I can certainly answer any questions if you have them.
Anyone have questions, Landon? Okay. Hopefully not have any. If we do, you'll come up. Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak, please come forward and sign in and identify yourself.
So I would be Mark Hansen, the Hansen MN. At least make you guys aware that we're trying to figure out a roller rink because we kind of think that the kids in this town could maybe use something to do in the wintertime. So we are not anticipating that we're ever going to make any money at this, but we do have a heart for kids. I guess just to make you aware that the intent is to try to figure out how we would extend the building itself to the existing building. If you're familiar with the Ale Works building, we bought that building, and we have a little store in there right now called Buffalo Gypsy. But the intent of buying the property behind that location was to hopefully be able to build a roller rink. I can tell you that we have a little bit of sticker shock going right now. Mayor Schmitz, I guess we have a meeting with you tomorrow sometime. We'll try to figure out some things. But anyhow, that's what the intent is. So that's why we're looking for removing that easement. So, any questions? Anybody know how to roller skate? Anybody grow up roller skating? Well, we're hoping to bring that fun back into our world. So, give our kids something to do other than Creighton.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I got to sign my name, I guess.
Yes, please.
I see nobody else put addresses down. Do I need to?
No.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak this item? A second call. A third and final call for public comment. Seeing no one else and hearing no one else, the public comment period's closed. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move we approve as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Risch,
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl,
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz.
Yes. Next, item E, consider request to receive an update on the water treatment plant expansion project and improve funding sources. Michael.
Don't set your laptop on the other. Perfect. Well, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here tonight to give you a brief update on our water treatment plant expansion and of our next steps. As we have some new commissioners here at the table, I know a lot of you have gone through Citizens Academy, so you're pretty familiar with our water plant. But just to give a little background for maybe those online of where we're at in this project and where we're going in the future, I'll start with some of that. So our water plant was originally built in 1924, and some of that plant is still in use today. We had some major expansions in the 1950s to add a river water intake. In 74, we added a 12 million gallon per day expansion on that as well. That river intake we still utilize to this day, and we've looked at it and everything's still in good condition. So some of the stuff that we've done in the past on our plant, what I want to say is, we've worked really hard with a good maintenance program, with building our plant to the size that we need when we need it. A lot of this has been funded through local investments and state funding in the past. Bismarck Water Plant is also a regional hub in our area. We serve a few other local education institutions, some cities, South Central Water. So, like I said, Bismarck provides water to the City of Lincoln, University of Mary, and UTTC. This allows them to manage and operate their own distribution system without having to operate and maintain a plant facility in itself. So this is our site. I'll just briefly kind of go over this. Where you see the one, this is our existing 30 million gallon per day lime softening and media filtration plant. The river water intake comes off of this plant. Site 2 is an existing pretreatment building that we're going to be repurposing in our next phase of construction. And Site 3 is where we're anticipating building a 10 million gallon per day ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis addition. Site 4, this is our existing sludge process plant. And then what you don't see on here, further south, we have another intake. This is our horizontal collector well. We call it the spaceship on the river. You probably have all seen it, but that is a groundwater intake. So I just want to give you a timeline of where we're at in this project because it's been a while since we've been at the commission. It started back in 2020 where we did a condition assessment and master plan of our water plant. Through that, we identified a need that the plant would, in order to continue to support growth in our community need, we need to add a 10 million gallon per day expansion. So that master plan ended in 23. We went to work with the legislators, and we were able to get $50 million appropriated towards the project through that process. And our project cost at that time was $83 million. And I want to just highlight why it was 83. I mean, when you look at very high-level master plans, you start with an understanding that it generally costs $12 to $15 million per MGD in a new plant facility. What we were looking at is we had an existing plant. We had existing river water intake. We had an existing pretreatment building. We had a clear well. And so that number got reduced down to about $6 to $7 million per MGD with, engineering and other fees associated with that. And so, again, what you have to look at with that master planning is we're very high level. And so we kicked off our design with the CMAR process, and at 30%, we did a design cost model. So that means we're 30% into our design. We asked our CMAR, can you give us an idea of what our cost is? So we don't have everything figured out. It might be, hey, we know that we're going to be putting pumps here for moving water up to the west end. We didn't know the size of the pumps. We didn't know how many pumps. So they're putting an estimate together based on that information. At that time, it came in at $127 million. So that's in 2024. We worked at that point to say, okay, well, what other things did we miss on this? And at that time, we had identified a few other parts that weren't noticed in the master plan that we found out of the 30% that needed to be also incorporated into the plant. And I'll share what those are in a little bit. So in 2025, we reached our 60% design, where project detail, sequencing, and construction became clear. So this updated cost model went to $143 million. At this point, we went back to the DWR, Department of Water Resources, to update them on our project so that they were informed of where we're at, and they said that we should also talk with the legislators of the Water Topic Subcommittee. So at this point in 25, we put a pause, at the end of 24 into 25, we put a pause on our project and design until we could get a better understanding of what fundings is available out there for us to continue with this project. We presented to the Water Topic Subcommittee in March, and there we got some good information that there really isn't any funding even left this year in this biennium from the DWR. The municipality budget's been emptied. So the next available funding potentially wouldn't be until 2027, 29 biennium, 27, 28 biennium, which would probably have about $100 million allocated statewide for the municipal bucket. Tied with that, the Department of Water Resources is also reviewing their cost share policy, and there's a lot of uncertainty of what decisions will come out of that. And we won't know what that would be until later this year or even early in 2027. So future funding, grant funding from the state wouldn't be available in this project until July of 2027 at the earliest. Where we're at right now is this star on the line. We've been evaluating in our model where can we see some potential savings, what can we remove, and we've proceeded to what we're going to have is our 90% cost model in September. And so our CMAR, we just submitted the plans for them to look through that to be able to give us cost estimates back on that. So where are we at currently under construction? This project is built into a few different sub-projects. We've back up here. We've already completed a few of them, like the uninterrupted power supply and the horizontal collector well. We're currently working on our high lift pump improvements and our SCADA network. All of these other sub-projects help us to get set up well for when we bring in the 10 million gallon per day expansion plant. And currently with that, we've already pre-procured our ceramic membranes because there's a long lead time and to be able to get these. So we've already have $29 million in contracted services to date. So where does that leave us? We've looked at our project scope as a whole. One portion that we removed is the low lift pump replacement and zebra mussel mitigation. This is something that we feel like we don't need to immediately address today, but we will need to address this down the road. I mean, zebra mussels are starting to enter in the state way on the south side, and it's going to make its way up here eventually. We just don't know how long. So we're monitoring that, we're watching it, but it's something that we said we can address later on so we don't have those costs today. Our anticipated project budget right now is $130 million. So you all want to know, how did we get from 83 to 130? Some of these things were parts that we identified through the project as we got further involved with this. Again, just to mention, the 83 comes from a very high-level estimate of 6 to 7 million gallons per MGD. Since we've originally put that master plan together, we've seen interest rates at 3 to 4%. You know, it's projected from 2023 to 28. That's a $20 million increase from when we originally put the project together to where we were sitting when we're going to start construction. Again, when the design kicked off in 24, a couple things that we found out was that the sand in the river, even on our current process, we don't see a big issue with it. We found out that the sand is very fine, and we have to figure out a way to deal with that, because if we put it through our membranes and our pumps and our RO system, it could cause a $8 to $10 million repair cost for us over the next 20 years. So the investment in a sand removal system today for $6 million would certainly help to relieve those repair costs. The original master plan assumed that we would have a clear well, that we could reutilize our clear well. After further investigation in that, we found that it wasn't the best option for us, in that our new plant needed to have its own clear well and high service pumps. Again, that building that we're reusing, that is a older technology called a super pulsator. Through more discussions with our water plant staff, it was identified that treatment process works very well in high turbidity, or what we call spring runoff. After that time, the effectiveness of that process doesn't work. So we are going to redo the internals of that building. Now, we are going to be saving $7 million from tearing down the building and reconstructing it, but our original master plan based our information on the fact that we'd reutilize that whole system, which wasn't going to work for us. We've had a few site conditions come up, stormwater ponds, retaining walls that add to this that weren't identified ever in the master plan. But one of the other parts that we're looking for is how do we make sure that our plant is set up for the future? So there has been some strategic decisions that we made to make sure that we're sizing our pipes appropriately, that we're sizing our sand removal appropriately, because our site is very constrained. We don't have a lot of ability to expand in the future. Going into an existing building and trying to upsize a pipe is very hard. So there are some key points where we installed maybe pipe a little bit bigger now, so that in the future we don't have to go and reinstall it when we're adding an additional 10 million gallon expansion 20, 30 years from now. So that cost today is $4 million, but it could save us anywhere from 10 to 50 million, 10 to 20 million, let me get my numbers right, in the future if we have to replace some of those. So these are big numbers. What you don't see in this table are other things that we've removed. Our plant was designed to run on both of our sources. We've determined that today we can run this purely on the river source and not the horizontal collector well. We removed a blending vault that also had some pre-treatment oxidation in it for the magnesium in that water. We removed that to save us about $6 million today, something that we're going to look forward to install in the future, but what we identified as our needs today is we would be okay with not having that. One of the Best parts about having a CMAR, again, this is a contractor that's helping us through design, is they can identify some potential pinch points. And one of the ones I like to highlight is where we had originally placed this clear wall structure. The contractor had come up and said, hey, if you place that there, I need to now rent a bigger crane, which is going to cost $1 million more. If you can just move your structure over to this other location, it saves you $1 million. And when we looked at the cost, because instead of going deeper in the ground, we could have more of a surface level structure, there was also additional cost savings there. So there are a bunch of stuff that we've worked on in the background to trim up as much as we can to find efficiencies in our budget for this that we don't always see here. And the other part is our contractor is, or CMAR, is aware of our project budget. They are aware that we're targeting this $130 million project, and they're invested in doing this. We always have an off-ramp with them. If we can't get to that price with working with them, we can always go and open bid this project. So the last thing, where is project funding coming from? Again, our project's $130 million. Currently, we've already secured $50 million from state funding. The additional funds that we need is $80 million. There are a couple options that we've looked at and reviewed. One would be using our utility reserve balance that we have. There are additional state grants that we do plan to seek and go after. However, we won't have access to those until July of 2027 would be the soonest we could go and get some of them. We have looked at issuing water utility revenue bonds through the city. Those interest rates tend to be a little bit higher, 5, maybe 6%. But what we've really looked at and what we're pursuing right now is DWSRF funding. This is funding through the state. What's great about this is it has a lower interest rate, around 3%, that we'll be able to get on this. We don't have to draw everything that we request. So that's the other good part is if we were to request the $80 million and through this we get additional state grants and we decide that, hey, we don't need that, we're only going to draw $70 million or $80 million or $60 million from that, we're not penalized for drawing it. We also draw as we go. It's not something where they give you the funds up front, so we're only paying interest as we draw, as we reimburse our funds. So it gives us the best way to be able to move, to monitor our funds, to move forward. What I'm trying to do is make sure that we have funds secured completely for paying for this project before we get into the bid side of things. And so my request tonight is to ask for your approval to apply for and accept the award of a DWSRF funding of $80 million, as well as we're going to continue to seek out state grant funding if and when available. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Risch.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Michael, I didn't see these numbers till I got to the meeting tonight, so I've got quite a number of questions. One of your slides says we provide water to the City of Lincoln, University of Mary, United Tribes Technical College, South Central Rural District. About what percentage of the overall water we process goes to those outside entities? Do you got a guess?
Let me think about my numbers real quick. All combined, I want to say 5% of our revenue that we collect comes from that.
No. What percentage of water?
I don't know the water gallons.
Because I guess my question is, overall, is if they're using 10 or 20% of the water, they should probably be paying 10 or 20% of these expanded costs.
Certainly something that we can look into. Their rates are structured very similar to what all of our other users' rates are. We do look at what they pull from our system, what tax, I don't want to call it tax they put on our system, what use they put on, peak demand that they put on, and the rate is structured around that.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
The next question, the exiting sludge processing plant, is that the contaminants you take out of the water and it goes on a pile and you mess with them, or what is that? I mean, I'm not familiar with that.
Mayor, Commissioner Risch, that is in our lime softening process. We introduce lime into the water to help soften it. It it has sand in it, it has some contaminants in it, particles that settle out. So yes, that sludge goes to that processing plant where we dewater it further, and then we're able to have a contractor haul it off and dispose of it for us.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, so we went from your initial plan in 2023 to 83 million. The state was very generous at $50 million. That's pretty incredible, I thought. But in a mere 2 years, it went to, and you explained a number of the reasons why, 143 million. But the state, as you mentioned, said we'll have probably $100 million more available, but it probably wouldn't be till 2029. And of course, all the communities in the state will be vying for that 100 million. If they look at us and say, "Oh, we just gave you 50 million," that might make it a little more difficult for us to get a tremendous amount more.
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Risch, it has the potential to. Our request when we went to the state was for 36 million to continue following their 60% cost share that they do with municipalities on water supply projects. That cost share is under review right now and could go down to 40% or even a $5 million cap. So there's a lot of uncertainty.
So there's a
with that
chance,
funding.
just based on their historical cost share of 60%, that we could do okay or get some more?
Mayor, Commissioner Risch, we don't know. We are competing with other municipalities on different projects. So where we fall in their list of 100-plus projects in a year and the funds they have available, we wouldn't know until July of 2027.
Commissioner, it's part of our request that we've already started to build, that we've began with discussions with our local delegates on the funding for that. How much we get, and there's some sensitivity.
It'll be the last days of the session.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Michael. So in the upcoming budget that we preliminarily approved, there is a modest increase for water fees and sewage fees. Is that enough?
Mayor,
It's not going to be enough.
Commissioner Risch, it's enough. We've anticipated that in our budget this year. The 3.5% anticipated utilizing this $80 million grant fund, or not grant fund, loan fund for it. Typically, we've been on the 3% rate increase per year is what we've seen needed. That additional 0.5% is what it would take to cover the additional needs that we have if we completely funded the project with DWSRF funding.
Commissioner Conley?
Well, I just wanted to make a point when your predecessor, Michelle, was here, in the water utility rate changes, with all of those other outside entities, they take care of their own infrastructure. And that's part of the negotiated contracts we have with them because they have a smaller population to take care of that infrastructure. So there is some mechanisms of fairness put in place. So we're not subsidizing them with our resources. It's a rubric that's meant to where we can produce the water, but they're taking care of their own infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Still,
Mayor, Commissioner Conley, yes, we provide water up to their point of connection. They're responsible for everything in their own interior system.
Commissioner Hall?
I just want to thank Michael and your team, for such a large project where we only have to do an extra 0.5%. That head-on playing of, making sure they're not spikes where, future generations are going to help, benefit from this, so they'll help pay for it essentially as well too. So thank you.
Any other questions? Through the budget process, I actually asked all these other questions of Michael, so I knew he had already planned, so we weren't going to have it, that we could cover it through the planned inflationary adjustments to water rates. So the request would be for us to give you permission to apply for the loan, correct?
And accept if
if awarded.
Yep.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Do we have discussion?
Well, I thought it said, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation is approve the loan application. It's not a grant, right? It's a loan
It's a
application.
loan
It's not a
application.
What's that?
It's a loan application.
Yeah.
and then if
And
awarded, to accept it.
If you want me to bring it back to have you guys accept it, we certainly can.
No, I don't think so. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Rish?
Yes.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Next, item F is consider a request from the Finance Department to accept the 2025 audit results and the 2025 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Ryan, welcome.
Mayors, members of the commission, I'm here without Eric for the first time, so bear with me. I'm flying solo for the Finance Department today. The agenda item in front of you and linked to the agenda in the packet you have is our annual comprehensive financial report for 2025. So we've been obviously looking at a lot of budgeting for 2027, but I'm going to take you back a little bit into 2025. Our fiscal services team every year prepares this complete set of financial statements, which recaps all of the financial activity of the city of Bismarck for a year. So this year, we just finished, prior to me starting, the 2025 ACFR, as we call it. Want to make you guys aware that these are all readily available on our website. The link that's in the agenda packet takes you to that site that has all of the last 5 years versions of these. At 130 plus pages apiece, they're a significant wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information. I know everybody in our offices uses them very regularly to look up items. There's a lot of good comparison data in there, a lot of factual information on the city of Bismarck, historical information, and then first and foremost is our financial information for the city. In addition to compiling this information, state statute requires us to have our financials audited by an independent auditing firm each year. As in past years, Eide Bailey has done that audit for us. We've contracted with Eide Bailey to do it recently. Before I go into any details on the report itself, I want to take a moment. I want to recognize that our team, our fiscal team, puts a lot of effort into this. It takes a significant amount of manpower to put this information together. It's a significant undertaking for them to do that, and like I said, it's a great resource for our city. They also put a lot of effort into working with the auditors to make sure that the auditors get everything they need in an efficient manner, make that audit process go smoothly. Every year, we take this process and it takes a good chunk of time. And like I said, I want to make sure that we recognize that team because it's going to continue and it's a big part of their processes every year. Happy to report that the city received a clean, unmodified audit opinion from Eide Bailey, the highest level of assurance that an auditor can provide. It means our financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and results of the operations of the city, and they're in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So in short, it's saying our financial reporting is reliable, transparent, and compliant. A few key points to note. The auditors noted no material weaknesses and no additional significant deficiencies in internal controls. We do have one carryover finding regarding the event center. We do have an action plan in place, especially with OVG now in place, that we expect that to be corrected and taken care of by the end of this year. So we would expect to not see that finding going forward. The city continues to maintain healthy fund balances, strong liquidity across major operating funds. This positions us well for managing ongoing services, capital needs, and future obligations. It complies with standards. All required disclosures, accounting treatments, and reporting elements were presented in accordance with GASB requirements. The auditors did not propose any material adjustments, which speaks to the accuracy of our day-to-day financial processes. And Eide Bailey completed their audit work on schedule, worked collaboratively with our staff, and provided constructive feedback that will help us continue improving our financial practices going forward. Overall, this clean audit of our ACFR reinforces that the city's financial management is sound, Our internal control processes are functioning as intended, and the residents and stakeholders have a confidence in how our public funds are being managed well. Again, I want to thank our finance team for their hard work throughout the year and during the audit process. I'd be happy to answer any questions, provide any additional detail you see fit, and beyond that, I'd request acceptance of the report and the audit findings.
Anyone have questions of Ryan? You can put him on the spot.
Not too tough a spot. Ryan, thank you, and I think it's incredible analysis of what's going on. But I'm looking at page 25, and I know 158-page document. I'm going to nick you on one little page, but when I look at page 25, it shows the net position balances in various funds. It shows the airport with $180 million. We were just talking about water, and they show $190 million in the water fund. Sanitary sewer, about $130 million. Is that like real money we have on hand?
It's an excellent question. There's a certain amount of money that is out there that is committed for future processes. We do have reserve balances that are out there that we anticipate spending. They're built into our processes. I'd have to look directly into those specific funds to give you a better answer on those specific ones that you indicated. I'd like to get a better answer from Eric and the team as well. But yes, there is money out there. We do have reserves. We want to be conservative. We want to be able to, if and when funding doesn't come in for 4 to 6 months, that we're able to continue operations until we're able to make a fix and correct that going forward. And so
If and when we want to expand the airport, if and when we want to expand the water treatment plant,
we do have reserve balances. Not to that, those dollar amounts, they're not available excess reserves. They're funds that have been built up and are part of the plan to spend going forward. I would not say they're excess reserves.
So, what page were you looking at?
Page 25.
Of the audit report or page 25
The financial
of the full
report.
PDF?
The financial
It's the
report.
PDF page 25. It's the document page 17.
It's called the financial report. Comprehensive financial report.
Yep. I'm just trying to get to the right page so I might be able to answer your question.
Well, you're the accountant.
It's that one you have right there.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Page
Page 7.
Statement of net position in the management and discussion and analysis. Is that where we're looking?
Yes. It's in the management discussion and analysis, page 17 of that.
Okay. So that's a net position of all funds. That doesn't necessarily mean cash. That's other assets as well. So
Oh, so you mean includes the value of the water treatment plant as it is?
it would include the depreciated value of fixed assets on the books, for example. So it's not all cash, like we have
Sure.
other assets. that-
Sure.
Buildings,
So the building, the airport itself.
yes.
Okay. I was getting my hopes up over here.
No.
But Commissioner Risch, Mayor, members of the commission, there is, we talked about it in the budget process. There is a reserve balance that we have on the books. It's not to the extent of hundreds of millions of dollars, but it is out there as a cushion for our activities going forward.
I just wanted to clarify that we're not sitting on all this cash. We do have reserve cash, as we should appropriately. We have a policy for the general fund.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, because I was just looking, it said balance. Balances.
So, okay.
Jumped out at me.
Are there any other questions? So the request to the commission is to accept the audited financial statement and the ACFR as presented by the audit firm and the finance department And then if we accept it, then it's approved, and then it can be moved forward. Actually, there's probably going to be a demand or a request for us to submit this information to other governmental bodies.
I so move.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Ryan, do thank the team because, as you know, they were running short-staffed, and this is a major lift to prepare, because they prepare the statements. It's not like we sub this out to ID Bailey to draft the statements. We do them all internally, and I appreciate their work.
Absolutely, and will do, sir.
Okay. Item G, consider request by Commissioner Conley to discuss the upcoming special session on September 2nd of the legislature and the topic of Kratom. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah. Mayor, Commissioners, thanks, Jason and staff also for putting this item on. I've been working with Lisa Meyer, House of Representative, for a while now, and we were looking at bringing forth some legislation in 2027 on behalf of looking at a ban or regulation of kratom and getting buy-in for that. But with the governor's announcement, it moves that conversation up forward, and found out that there's a lot of people that have been talking about it. So people have been talking to me over time and putting it out there. Even more people have come to me in the last week. So giving them an opportunity to speak tonight was part of it. But I would also ask, would it be prudent for us to ask staff or come up with an official statement to add to the testimonial conversation for the special session in September?
So I don't know what the bill is going to be yet, so I don't know how we take a position. I suspect we have a general sense what we would like to see, which has probably been already expressed by the residents who spoke tonight, but I don't know how we take a position on a bill we don't know is out there or what bills are going to be out there. If we would get wind of what bill is going to be the top bill, which I would anticipate is going to fall in line with where the governor is right now, we could certainly have a special meeting to then give that direction to formalize that. But it's a little hard for me because I don't know, I don't know what to, we don't even have a bill identified to take a position on.
Well, it's a fast-moving conversation. Just putting it on our radar is even a benefit because, as we saw tonight, there's definitely people that have experienced negative consequences to this being out there on demand.
Yeah. So if you'd be comfortable with that, once we know what's out there to take a position on, we could call a special meeting, Jason, and I don't know, Whitney's not here, so we have our superstar backup, Alyssa, to make sure we get that noted. I have no problem with that. I don't know what to say right now as an organization.
Okay.
I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel, but that's kind of like, I don't want to get on the wrong side of a bill.
Right. Yep. No, and that's understandable. I do have some examples. I forwarded one to Jason as like ordinances that other communities put in place. But as the state develops theirs, it may play into that factor and stuff.
And if the state does what we hope it does, we won't need an ordinance.
Yep.
Commissioner Risch.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Commissioner Conley, they're going to be listening to the experts, I would suspect, and they've had an initial interim committee hearing, and I've read the stuff about that. There was a good editorial in today's paper explaining the difference between Kratom and these which is questionable, but the awful synthetic stuff that's doing most of the killing out there. I don't know that the legislature is really going to be looking to us for counsel and advice compared to the experts that are going to show up at the legislature who know all about it, like the young woman on the national level that spoke to us earlier. That's my only thoughts. So I don't know if it would make any difference if we did take a position.
Okay. I'm looking for just consensus at this point in time to see if we want to request a special meeting should we find out there's a bill out there that we need to take a position. I have no problem. We take positions on bills throughout the entire legislative session, but I just don't know where to, I don't know what the position should be yet.
I get that. I can keep monitor on it and certainly come forward as it develops in that. My background, that's the reason why I moved here, was in the field of addiction, so.
Okay. We have consensus then to follow it that way?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Next is item H, consider request by Commissioner Conley to discuss non-disclosure agreements relating to City of Bismarck staff and North Dakota open records laws. Commissioner.
I was on the radio with, on 5:50 a.m., Michael Bellin. They always, sometimes you get questions that catch you off guard, but was asked a question about a staff member in a smaller community that actually was asked a question by their council to speak on an issue that they were dealing with, and that employee stated they signed an NDA and couldn't talk to the very commission they were in front of. And it was announced to me on the radio and asked how I would address it, and I said I would ask the question here, not knowing the background. And so I reached out to Jason, and it's going to be more of an educational piece, but I think it's a good place setter to know that we're aware of some of these conversations that cause some turmoil in other communities. And then what's not on the agenda, but further in the conversation, there were some appointed and elected officials on the east side of the state on an active topic around the data center conversation to where they signed NDAs and they're not talking to people that elected them. So I don't know where the conversation would evolve to, but it is a concern that some citizens have out there.
So first off, I'm going to ask Attorney Meese to come forward and address what already is in Century Code, which probably already addresses this. And knowing that we abide by open records rules under Century Code. And I expect that of staff. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Commissioner. Commissioner Connolly, so.
Julie, can you speak
I'm sorry.
into the
I
mic?
do this all the time. I'm so sorry. Okay, so under the Century Code or the Constitution, Section 6, the default is that everything is open unless there are specific exemptions or confidentiality portions relating to open records. So everything that the city does is potentially an open record. Any writing, any email, text, those could be requested by a member of the public. Now, there are within the open meetings and open records law 4404, there are some exceptions to that, and those things include, let's see, trade secret, proprietary, commercial, and financial information. Those are confidential if they are of a privileged nature and it has not been previously publicly disclosed. So if there's a trade secret by a company or proprietary information by a software company, the city employee could not disclose those. And there are penalties if an employee or an official knowingly discloses that information, and that's contained in Title 12.1. There are other exemptions, including location of or potential locations of prospective businesses. So I'm not sure where these cities are or what they're doing with the non-disclosure agreements. I don't know that that's a great idea, actually, because they're open records except for the things that need to be remain confidential. So those are already contained within the Constitution and the Century Code.
So our expectation is we would follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
Both the electeds and the staff, and I'm confident we are.
Well, and I really appreciate that. Like I said, it's good education. A lot of smaller communities don't have the staff that we do. It's good that we tape it, so when these questions arise, some of these discussions, especially around things like data centers, they're getting highly controversial. So it's good that we have something to where we can reference this because these are recorded. So I appreciate your time on it.
I absolutely, and I would just like to say for everybody, the Attorney General's office puts out an open meetings manual and an open meetings or open records manual. Those are available online. I refer to them all the time. I quoted from them in here. So I would also refer the smaller communities, anybody can access those and likely call the Attorney General's office if there are questions.
Commissioner Risch.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you, Commissioner Conley. It was the Harwood event with the data center that really brought this to light. And it was people saying, wait a minute, you're going out there and discussing these things and you're signing non-disclosure agreements. It actually really undermines people's faith in government. So I'm going to go on the record saying, I won't sign one. I don't care when or what. I won't sign a non-disclosure agreement. That means I don't get the information, fine and dandy.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Risch, and whenever I talk, whether it's on the radio or other, I say it's in my opinion, but I concur. I won't be signing any either. So.
Okay. Is there anything else to this? No, I think we're in shape and practicing appropriately as it was. So, we're to other business. At this point in time, does anyone have other business? I do, but does anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I was just going to mention that I got another call yesterday about these flock cameras. There's a lot of news articles around the country about some communities are putting in these flock cameras. They read license plates. They're even evolving to facial recognition and stuff, and there's a lot of blowback. And for anybody who's watching this, I want to just assure them that the city of Bismarck does not have flock cameras. We don't have them as a public entity. But there are some businesses in Bismarck that do have flock cameras with at least license plate readers. So I just wanted to throw that out there if anybody's watching is concerned about all these articles, a number of articles I've read the last 2 weeks. So anyway.
Commissioner Conley.
And to follow up on that, constitutionally, the Constitution regulates the government. It's not supposed to regulate private business, except for certain circumstances. So if private businesses are using them, that's on them. But me personally, in my opinion, I would not endorse them at our levels. So.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have other business? Okay. I have one item, and it's because I think it's been hashed about. It's time to pull together and reconstitute a task force to address it. Would be the street fee. We are in no way, shape, or form ready to go forward with it. We need to do a lot more work, and I would like to have the permission of this commission to establish a committee or a task force to further and help engineering to develop what should be the fee, how it should be done, and then not only that, but also educate and engage our community, because I think one of the things we're missing is truly education and engagement. If it's not something that can be done to replace repairs specials, that's fine, but without having that engagement and seeking that feedback, we're not going to get there one way or the other. And so I would ask that this body give me the permission to establish that. And I already know of some people who have volunteered to do that, and certainly will involve city staff because they'll have the numbers. But we need to make sure that it's done right if it's done. And this is not something coming forward for a vote yet because it's not ready. So it won't be ready. Hopefully it's ready for the next, not this coming election in November, but maybe the next 2-year cycle.
Mr. Mayor, we've been studying this for quite a while now, and
I know, but it's been put on the back burner, and we need to refresh it.
I understand that, but it's appealing to me because we could save millions of dollars in interest, all kinds of money in administrative costs, and it would just take away this uncertainty of people getting nailed with these high special assessments for street resurfacing. So I think it's something we should pursue, and certainly, you want me to? I'll make a motion that we allow the mayor to put together a committee to study it further and report back to the commission as necessary.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Conley.
Well, prior to being elected, I think most people are aware, I sat in on every rate meeting for the nearly decade, isn't it? We're at about a decade.
We're at about a decade now.
The only thing, the difference is that as a citizen prior to 2180, you didn't get to speak, where now you do. So we might get some benefit to that. Maybe we don't. But I agree. I appreciate the fact because this would be a huge swing. And to try to put the fairness into it to where people could understand it. And one area that I think would stand to benefit that didn't come up in previous discussions, I mentioned it lately a couple of times, is when Colonial Estates started seeing their, at one of many, they were bought out by corporate companies and all of a sudden their lot rent went up significantly. One of the reasons for the increase of those initial rents was always the specials around the surrounding area. Well, the rents always go up. They never go down once the special's paid off. So if there was, say, a utility rate fee, and the one thrown around, say, of $30, that's a tangible number. And they could have any reason for raising those rates, but they can't really blame it on a assessment or anything at that rate. And we have some very difficult questions when it comes to how do we get to, I don't even know if the term affordable housing without subsidy exists, but obtainable housing, because a lot of people are out there struggling. So I think that has some merit in the conversation.
Agreed. Okay, so I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call roll.
Commissioner Dahl?
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. If no one else has any other business, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.